Ellis Beefeaster's Radio Aircheck and Classic TV channel.
Once again, Jerry Williams.
254-5678.
Hello, America. This is Jerry Williams. Welcome back. This is my last night here at WBZ Radio and my last couple of hours. And I have worked at a prepared statement. I don't normally work from anything prepared in terms of what I say because I don't feel comfortable doing things that are prepared. I'm not a good writer. I'm better at verbalizing my feelings. But today, because I wanted to make sure that I said everything in compact form without going on, I have put it together. It is with great sadness and reluctance that I leave WBZ in Boston and Massachusetts. I've spent most of my adult life here, half of my radio and TV career. I've married my wife Terry in 1957, my first year in Boston, and all my children, my 3 girls, Eve, now 17, Susan, almost 16, and Andrea, who just turned 12, were born here at Massachusetts Memorial Hospital, and they truly do not know any other home. And so I'm leaving Boston again, this time most unwillingly, although my family will continue to live here. It is difficult to recall all that I would like to at this moment. Certainly the most exciting times for me have been the hours I've spent on the air with senators and congressmen, governors, mayors, authors and critics, journalists, scientists, economists, frauds and ideologues, fascists and communists, liberals and conservatives, moderates and independents, and experts from everywhere. The list of people truly reads like a who's who in America. What an exciting time it's been for me. Truly an education for me. And I hope it's been the same for you because, after all, this is the function of this program, to inform and to entertain you who listen. And what a distinct pleasure it's been for me to perform on this great radio station, WBZ. Just saying it, WBZ Boston. WBZ Boston. That brings to mind the many other great performers and voices who have been on this great radio station. I will miss being heard on BZ, and most of all, I will miss the people who depended upon this program for information, enlightenment, and stimulation. I have not forgotten, how could I? I will not forget you in Dayton, Ohio, Rockford, Illinois, Charleston, West Virginia, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, Baltimore, Washington, Virginia Beach, Allentown, Pennsylvania, Chicago, Cleveland, Charlestown, South Carolina, Rocky Mount, North Carolina, Fort Lauderdale, Montreal, Toronto, and of course all of New England, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and the good old Bay State, Massachusetts, and Boston, with whom I've had a love-hate relationship. I will miss all of you because this is really my home. And though I may not have been born here, it is the place of my choice, and it will be most difficult for me to adjust at this point in life to anything else. But as you probably know, I'll be at WTIC in Hartford, another giant of a station, starting October the 11th, 7 to 12 nightly, at 1080 on the dial. WTIC does carry the Whalers and the Red Sox and the Celtics, and I'll be on after those games on those nights, and Sundays I'll be heard on WMCA in New York at 570 on the dial. There is so much to be said in bidding farewell. I really don't know where to begin, so let's begin where we should at the beginning. Jim Lightfoot brought me back to Boston and WBZ in July 1968, although I did have offers to go elsewhere. in the United States. I was in Chicago at the time. But Boston and Jim Lightfoot, the general manager, and Tony Graham, the program director at the time, convinced me to come to BZ. Jim Lightfoot has since passed away. He was a great broadcaster and a wonderful guy. Tony Graham is in New York now, and he was an inspiration to the work I do. My thanks, too, to Bob Oakes, the former program director, for his help and encouragement. He is now in Florida. There were many people who helped put this program together over the 8-year period. Early in the game, my old friend Paul Fanning, Jerry Wishnow, Steve Ellman, Kathy Bayless, Laura Dubowski, Kathy Shapley, Ned Foster, Rick LaPierre, Tessel Collins, who's here tonight, Kenny Meyer, better known affectionately as Muck, in his great production of the golden days of radio on the 50th anniversary shows, which I remember, and I had the opportunity to announce the big bands on those programs. That was really a memorable moment for me. And Kenny Kale, who I'm happy to say is coming to WTIC with me to produce the No program. My thanks, too, to people behind the scenes, Betsy Atwood, Mary Zapula, who answers all the complaints, a bit unsmiling at times, Pat Randall, who listens to everybody's gripes with a sympathetic ear, the entire traffic department, the BZ sales department, who always kept us sold out, and, of course, the engineering department headed by Norm Graham, who operates under difficult conditions, and all the technicians who work this program nightly, Lee Holbrook, who's here tonight, and Warren Ollenbach, Don Tortorella, Charlie Dinsmore, Fred Stroud, Dwight McComber, Carol Jeffries, Allison Frisbee, and Frank Edmonds. And last but not least, the great group of professional broadcasters who perform on this station. Carl DeSouze, Bob Raleigh, Dave Maynard, Guy Manella, Bob Wilson, Johnny Most, Lavelle Diet, Dick Pace, Bill Smith, Larry Glick, and those who were here before, Jim Sands and Larry Justice. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. They are the people who make this a great station, because they are the people you know and who you communicate with. And after all, that is what radio is all about. Nothing more and nothing less, just communication. And of course, the fabulous BZ News staff headed by Ed Bell, Gary LaPierre, Don Batting, Stephen Smith, Ted Larson, Listo Fisher, Ann McGrath, Darrell Gould, Harry Savas, Art Gardner, Nancy Kaplowski, and Ed Bell. It's the best news staff I've ever worked with. I have to gain control, excuse me. And that is why it's been such a distinct pleasure working here. My memories are quite distinct. The 68 election, the terror of the Chicago Convention, the horror of Vietnam, that agonizing call from the Vietnam veteran which caused such a stir. I'll never forget that black man who called for love between the races and 1,000 other touching and memorable calls. The Nixon-McGovern election, of course, Watergate, and your encouragement to stay with it, although there were severe pressures to drop that matter. Your great response to the calls for letters to congressmen, to the networks, the end of the war, Nixon's resignation. And there was fun, a great deal of fun, many a belly laugh and chuckles here and there, and emotions on every level, because that is what radio talk shows are all about. The concept of people being able to express themselves and to talk to one another by simply using the telephone as a microphone. That has always excited me. There are the critics of this kind of communication who feel that people who participate are nutty. Now, that's not so. People who participate are an amazing cross-section of America. Just people, all kinds of people. And isn't it about time that just people had a forum of their own? I truly believe in this form of radio, and I do hope it stays with us. I've been involved in talk radio now for 25 of the 30 years in broadcasting, but these 8 years have been the most meaningful and stimulating because, I suppose, because of the nature of the times and the issues. And of course, it's because it's been on this great station, WBZ, and its capability of reaching so many people in so many states. Your letters, they overwhelm me, literally. Thousands of them from over 30 states, and the kind words expressed in them. It is beyond my capacity to reply. I shall keep them and treasure them, and I thank you for them. I hope I would be happy to give them to the Westinghouse executives in New York or here for them to read that kind of mail. Now, being a social critic is not an easy role. You make enemies. Many of them in high places. Pressures upon you are constant, sometimes insidious, both covert and overt. And when you are the employee of a large communications organization, one never knows the source of the pressure or criticism. But that is part of what I do, and I expect that to happen, and I accept the pitfalls. And then there are pressures from people who listen to the program and do not like what is being said, and would in effect like to silence the voices of dissent. They are dangerous to America. Sometimes pressures from advertisers, but rarely these days. And of course, there's the pressure of the nightly performance. 4 hours a day of criticism on everything from dirty streets to presidents. Many nights, since I am but human, I do not feel like doing the 4 hours, and it takes an enormous amount of discipline to psych oneself up for the night ahead. Not only must you be prepared for the program ahead, but you must be instantly ready for an immediate response from the public to what you've just uttered. Then, of course, the obligation to the audience to be as accurate on the issues as one possibly can be. And what with a zero budget and no research staffs, it is difficult. And one of the most obvious pressures is to keep it entertaining and humorous when the occasion arises. Some observers feel, looking from the outside in, that nothing could be easier than sitting down for 4 hours and batting the breeze. And you still have to perform the commercials and hawk the goods that are necessary to your survival. And then there's, of course, the ratings. If you don't get them, you don't exist. So in summary, pressures from management, the public, politicians in high places, and people in hidden places make this job a difficult one. I'm not crying the blues because I love the work, and I would not do it if it was not satisfying and stimulating. But I did want to let you know what goes on behind the scenes as well. My ambitions have somewhat dimmed with age. I've always wanted to do more television, but as luck would have it, that has not occurred. Perhaps I will get a further opportunity, and if not, it no longer disturbs me as it did when I was younger. I think now less in terms of career ambition, but more in terms of life fulfillment, family, friends, children. And only with age and maturity do you find out that that is truly what life is all about. And if only I could find my island, that would be nice. Well, perhaps I will. I love the Cape, and someday that might be my island, or maybe one of Florida's great beaches. Who knows? I'm still searching, and I don't know for what. But the most important factor in what I do is you, the listener. Without your participation and acceptance, this type of program could not exist. The essence of freedom and the First Amendment are embodied in this form of radio. Not many places are left on earth where one can speak out to hundreds of thousands of people about their own government and the high public officials who run their lives. This should not be taken for granted. Don't let it be. There are very few courageous radio and television stations or broadcasters around where true free speech is heard, so we must be ever vigilant about protecting this right. Now, I don't mean to sound like a candidate running for office. Hey, maybe that's a good idea, maybe I'll do that. But I thank you for everything. It's been a good 8 years. I have no regrets, just sadness at this moment. This is a time, by the way of the year, for new beginnings and new challenges and atonement for one's past mistakes. So on October the 11th, I begin again, and perhaps I should leave you with a bit of personal philosophy. There is a glorious sun, not the sun you see in the sky, but a sun which is within ourselves, which is much brighter than the sun you see in the sky. When the sun comes out, it only dispels the darkness, but when this sun comes out, it dispels the darkness and ignorance both. It is much brighter than the sun that shines out. It is all within us. Just within us. Now, excuse me for getting the lumps in my throat during that, but it's difficult after spending so much time here with so many good people. And I tried practicing that many times today, and I hoped that I would get it out of my system, but I didn't. So that's that. And I don't know whether it's fitting to play a commercial here or not, but I guess that's what we better do.
Jerry, I tell you, I feel that WBZ ought to get another slogan because Spirit of New England has died tonight. And thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Wake up, America, as well. Kenny, Muck Meyer is here. Are you going to just sit there and... Muck, sit up to the table. I know you can't sit there. There's the mic.
I didn't come in here to get on
I
the
just
air.
wanted to thank you for that great golden anniversary radio show we did. That was a great show. How many people did we have on that 50th anniversary?
I don't remember how many we had. All I know is if they were alive and breathing, we found them.
But I remember the great interview I did with Ben Grauer. Remember that?
Yes.
Who was it? Bob Hope we had? And,
Yes, that was the second night. The first night we had Jerry Colonna, and we had Don Wilson, and we had Herb Morrison, who broadcast the Hindenburg disaster.
Oh, yeah, that was a very touching moment. Yep.
Bill Stern, the first night.
Yeah, I remember that Bill Stern interview because Bill Stern has passed on, hasn't he?
Right, a year later.
Yeah,
a year later he died.
And Bill Stern was probably one of the greatest, most colorful sports broadcasters in the world. He's the kind of style that I enjoy, and I had a wonderful time talking to him, although it was rather sad talking to him because I think we had an impending feeling of that he wasn't going to be around too long.
And the Tuesday night, that was the night, you're right, we had Ben Grauer, we had Bob Hope that night, we had Art Linkletter, we had Harry Von Zell, who was great, just great.
Yeah.
Mel Blanc that night.
Yeah, it was a great 50th anniversary, and it was fun for me to participate in the Golden Days of Radio show. What was that? How many July 4ths ago was that?
That was a year ago. Oh, wait, you mean the 50th anniversary stuff?
No, the Golden Days.
That was July of 75.
75.
4th, 5th, and 6th.
Yeah, in Hyannis?
Yeah, at Dunphy's Hyannis Resort, and it was great because we got to meet all these people in person.
Yeah, and not only that, I think I'm a big band freak, and grew up during the big band era. That's when I got interested in radio, as a matter of fact, and one of my early inspirations in the business was one of the first disc jockeys, Martin Block, and Martin used to run the Make-Believe Ballroom, right? And the great pleasure for me was someday to announce a big band. And Lee Castle and the Jimmy Dorsey Band with Bob Eberly was down in Hyannis that 4th of July weekend, and I had a chance to do, is it 3 broadcasts I did? Yeah.
Right, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night.
Yeah, it was great. And I met Lee Castle rather recently again. And you did a good job putting that together, Muck. You did a good job.
Well, you're what made the 58th anniversary shows what it was. I remember before I started, I kept thinking, all I've heard Jerry Williams talk about is politics. And you started with old-time radio, but what really surprised me was when we interviewed Red Barber.
Yeah.
And I thought, gee, because I didn't know you very well, and I thought, my God, we're going to do an interview on sports, and I've never heard Jerry do anything on sports. And you started talking about the old Dodgers, and I thought, well, I've heard of all these guys. And then you mentioned a guy that I never even heard of and that Barber had heard of named Johnny Cooney.
Johnny Cooney. And Van Lingle Mungo.
Right. And then I said, gee, he knows everything.
Well, almost everything, right?
But
except how to climb the executive ladder. That's one of the things I never learned.
But I've enjoyed working with you, even though it wasn't on your 8 to midnight broadcasts.
Well, we'll be listening to Glick. We'll be listening to Glick, and I'll hear him refer to you. Hey, Muck! I'll hear him. No breaking up now, Muck. We don't want that, okay? Muck's about to break up, and there's going to be two of us if he does it, all right? Good to see you. Thanks a million, Kenny, for all your help in the past, too, all right? What time is it? 6 minutes to 11 on WBZ Radio, this message. Let's continue at 5 minutes to 11, an hour and 5 minutes for me to go here on BZ Radio. Hello.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi, yeah.
I really can't believe that this night is happening.
Well, as it narrows down and I make the last few mentions of BZ for the last time in my career, why I'm beginning to feel that it is real.
Well, I guess so, but I think the saddest part is that Boston really needs you.
I need Boston.
Well, I know that's true.
I feel it's part of my soul, you know.
I guess the reason that it's kind of upsetting to me and a lot of other people is that I've spent so much time with you that I know I'm losing a friend, practically. It's as if you're in every room of our house. We have you on the radio all the time. You mean a great deal to my husband and myself, and just Watergate and Nixon and Vietnam and the dirty Boston streets and all of it will remind, I guess, us of you for a long time. We have a lot of family and friends in the Hartford area. And if we don't hear you all the time, we'll at least make sure that they know you're there, and they'll get the benefit of all of your wisdom and everything. And
where are you living now?
Framingham.
I'm very big in Framingham.
You really are. You don't even know.
Right? It's where's that place that I'm not too big in? Let me see.
Which one is
Chelsea.
Oh.
Not too big in Chelsea. Now, one call from the good old Chelsea. I did get Everett, but I didn't get Revere. That's Larry Glick territory, Chelsea.
Well, you know, they can't get through tonight, Jerry. It's the crummy telephone system. That's all.
Well, good. I appreciate it.
Okay, you're special to us.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
That's kind.
Good luck.
Bye-bye. Charlie DiGiovanni, cab one. What is it? Which cab now?
1059.
1059. I keep forgetting the number, Charlie. Nice to have you.
Jerry, I've been with you for 11 years,
Yep.
and I enjoy every minute of it.
I appreciate it.
It's terrific.
And you'll hear more from Charlie on the Larry Glick Show, and we'll shout your name out there, okay?
Okay.
Good, thanks so
And
much.
if you ever get back to Boston, you need a cab,
I'm around. I'm going to be around, okay.
I'll come and get you
Okay.
anytime.
I'm not going to be dead, folks. I'm going to be alive in the last 5 minutes.
Good luck, Jerry.
Thanks very much, Charlie. Yes, Kenny Kale. I mentioned your name earlier, Kenny. Did you hear me mention your name earlier? He's coming with me to Hartford, and we'll do the best we can there to excite and illuminate the airwaves once again on that another great giant radio station. The last five. This is the last five, and I'm sure that the folks up top are saying, huzzah, this is enough. Hello.
Yeah, hi, Jerry.
Yes.
Yeah, hi, I'm calling from Providence.
Yes.
I feel selfish because I'm a first-time caller and probably one of the last. I'd just like to say that I'm going to be listening to my 8-track and putting my antenna at half-mast.
Well, I don't think you have to down in Providence. I mean that.
I work in Waltham, so I commute.
Uh-huh.
But at least for the ride until I get down into radio shot of Connecticut.
Well, I think you're in the radio shot there.
Yeah, but not from Waltham.
Oh, from Waltham. I
Not
see.
in the car.
I thought you said Providence.
Well, work in Waltham, live
I
in
see.
Providence.
Well, the best thing, do you remember that fellow, I don't remember the name of that television show, with the guy who had an antenna going through his head? Remember that?
Missed that.
Yeah. We'll just have to give antennas to everybody.
Okay, good luck.
Good enough.
Connecticut.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye. 4 minutes to midnight. Hello.
Jerry?
Yes.
Yes, I wanted to call and say I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you. Where are you calling from?
I'm from Norway, and I've been listening to you for 4 years. Is there a way that we'd be able to listen to you on the radio?
Is there a way? Will you turn
Yeah.
on the radio?
On the radio, but will we be able to get it?
You might. Where do you live again?
Norwood.
Norwood. Possibly, yes, it's possible. I'll tell you as I leave where to get us, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks a million. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
254-5678. Hello.
Good evening, Jerry.
Yes, sir.
Feeling incredibly privileged. I talked to you, I think, your first night there in Boston.
And this is my last. You're probably the last caller.
Yeah, I'm
You-
25 years old. You've had an incredible effect on me. I'm in broadcasting myself here in Washington. And listening to you through the last, 17, 18 years, kind of made me get out of the silly idea that I had thought of broadcasting. And I just hope that in the next several years that I can do 1% of the good for people and lead them to knowledge of the facts that you've done. It's incredible. I appreciate you. I'll be listening to you on WTIC, and I'm just sorry that you're leaving BZ.
Well, are you working in broadcasting now?
Yes, I'm doing some productions for some syndicated shows, and in fact, I'm sending you a letter on some ideas for syndication.
Hey,
that
I wish you
might
would,
be interested in.
because I've already discussed that and it's in the works, so please do that so we can get together.
Yes, I'd love to meet you sometime and talk to you about
Well,
it.
don't forget WTIC, it's Hartford 06103.
Right, sure will.
Thanks very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And so it is. The final words for me here on BZ. I'd made my farewells earlier, my final statement, so I don't want to go over that again. I will tell you again that I will be, my thanks to BZ for allowing me to mention so many times where I'm going to be for the benefit of the fluid and moving audiences, that I will be during the week, Monday through Saturday, at WTIC in Hartford. It's another great radio station, one of the dominant stations in New England and in the southern part, the northeast part of the country. And it's at 1080 on the dial. BZ is at 1030, and we're 50 kilocycles off, and we start there on October the 11th from 7 to midnight. If you don't hear me on some of those hours, and there's some sporting activity like the Whalers or the Celtics and the Red Sox, that's the station, and I'll be on immediately after. With me, joining me there after midnight, and a new series of programs is Bill Corsair from WCAU in Philadelphia. On Sundays, I'm going to be on WMCA in New York. That's at 570 on the dial, and perhaps on New York and New Jersey and so-called greater New York area, Connecticut, and places like that, Rhode Island, will hear us there as well. And that's, I guess, about the size of it. It's been a good run. I have no regrets, none whatsoever, and I hope you heard my statement earlier, which I obviously cannot repeat. I couldn't even get through it. I'd like to close with this bit of wisdom, which Albert Einstein once wrote. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science. To know that what is impenetrable to us really exists, manifesting itself as the highest wisdom and the most radiant beauty which our dull faculties can comprehend. This knowledge, this feeling, is at the center of true righteousness. In this sense, and in this sense only, I belong to the ranks of devoutly religious men. This is Jerry Williams, and for the final time, wake up, America, and good night, good luck, good morning, good night to you.
Hi, this is Larry Glick, and I'll be seeing you right after the news on Radio 103.
The Spirit of New England, WBZ Boston, Group W, Westinghouse Broadcasting.
It's an incredibly mild 60 degrees here in Boston. Tonight's low will be in the 50s. I'm Ted Larson reporting the 12 o'clock WBZ News. A veritable swirl of news accompanied the return of Secretary of State Henry Kissinger to Washington Monday night from his latest Middle East trip.